Our office has a substantial history in handling inner ear injury cases. These inner ear injury cases can be devastating for the person involved and can generally take one of three courses. One is what's called a canal dehiscence. The second one is called a perilymph fistula, and the third is called an endolymph hydrops. A dehiscence is essentially a thinner section of the cranial bone inside of your skull, which with a traumatic injury shoves the part of the inner ear up into the skull base. And what ends up happening is that the cerebrospinal fluid from the skull starts leaking through that hole in the cranium and leaks out sometimes through the person's nose. That can require neurosurgery. Generally, a craniotomy has to be done. The doctors go in, lift the brain, and patch the top of the cranial vault, and therefore it stops the leak of the cerebrospinal fluid. Those are relatively rare, but more common ones are the perilymph fistula and endolymph hydrops. Briefly, a perilymph fistula is a rupture of either the round or the oval window deep inside your skull in what's called the inner ear structure. Now, the inner ear has two sections to it. One is called the cochlear system, which is how you hear, and the other is called the vestibular system. The vestibular system is usually the system that we see impacted most by inner ear injuries, and what happens is the little window in which the bones from the middle ear and the eardrum connect into the inner ear. It can rupture those, and you can have a slow fluid leak out of there, and you would experience dizziness. A lot of folks experience difficulty with riding in elevators and going up in airplanes. But generally, the main issue is balance problems, and it becomes very difficult for people with a perilymph fistula or even an endolymph hydrops to be able to balance themselves after traumatic injury. The endolymph hydrops itself is actually damage to the hair cells that line the inner ear, and those can create, again, balance issues and other issues like that for the individual. We have a substantial history dealing with these cases and dealing with other complex injury cases that can involve not only inner ear injuries, but also traumatic brain injuries, visual difficulties, and other balance problems.